Hi friends, it has been a pleasure to lead you in this Creative Lent series, and I have enjoyed the process so much, and I hope you have too. Thank you for all of you who joined on Zoom, and those who watched the videos on YouTube and followed along at home. It is so appreciative, and I thank you for allowing me to be part of your Lent journey this year. Well, today we are at the final stage of this Lent journey, and we are looking at John 19 when Jesus says his last words, "It is finished." So come along, grab all your supplies together, and let's get stuck into this final session. And I hope that this will just be the start of something new for all of us. So God bless and enjoy this video. Hello friends, so we are at the final stage of our journey of a Creative Lent, and we are dealing with Jesus's final words when he said, "It is finished." And we are going to incorporate a little bit of the different things we've used in the last few weeks. So we'll be doing some mixed media. So I've got some paints. I'm gonna work with hopefully these colors. I'm not sure yet. The red, blue, and green, and black. I've got some white as well, and of course I've got my spray bottle. And then what I have is some paint papers that I have used up paint, extra paints on over the last few weeks and from before, and I have just gone ahead and cut these up, and I would use, but you can use magazine pages if you wish as well, if you don't have leftover painting pages, if that makes sense. So I've got some different bits. I'm going to start with the black as a base because that's what's in my head. And I also found this picture. I may or may not incorporate it. I'll see if it sort of drowns everything else. I probably won't. So I'll see how we get on. I've got my wipes. I've got my heat gun. I've got some paper to wipe up. I've got some water. I've got my gesso, and I'm going to be using modpodge to adhere the papers onto the page. I also have a little cutout of a cross. If you got the pack from me, you would have gotten a napkin with a gold cross, so you can use that. I can't find where I put mine down, so I'm just using this. I've got my brushes, water, and I'm going to use some black gesso today as well, and of course I've got my white gesso. So let's start by putting these papers down onto our page. I'm just making sure that I'm in frame. Sorry, excuse my sniffling. I've got a bit of a I've got a cold or something. Yeah, my body is a bit achy at the moment. I don't often use Mod Podge when I'm doing mixed media, but I thought I would try something different. So you can use watered down glue, PVA glue, or if you want to just go straight into it, you can as well, but it's best to thin it down a little bit. And just make sure, just make sure it's stuck down properly, because the worst thing is when your paper's underneath the bubble. So I'm just putting this random places. There's no rhyme or reason. And as you can see, I'm being a bit generous with the Mod Podge, perhaps too generous, but that's okay. I just really want some of the pages. If your pages are particularly thick, you do need a lot of the glue in order for it to adhere properly. And I'm just using the back of the brush to press it down onto the page. So I hope you have been enjoying this journey with me, this Creative Lent journey, and that you have been inspired and blessed, and that you will perhaps use some of the techniques that we've done in your Bible journaling. Maybe you have a favorite and you might want to keep doing that. That would be super awesome. Just gonna put one more bit here. It's probably the best thing, not the best thing to be using this when you have a cold. This got up in my nose and make me sneeze. Oops. I'm gonna use my card just to make sure it's done properly. Let's get a bit gluey. Okay, so I'm gonna put some of the other bits of paper. I'm hoping to cover this completely with all the paper. Again, really pressing down to make sure I get the paper stuck down properly onto the page. Somebody asked me the other day, why do I put stuff on and then cover it? It's a particular technique. It adds texture and interest to your work, and it acts as a background, really. And you can, you know, put it down and leave it like that, but if you're just using collage, you would just be putting the paper on and not covering it over. I mean, you might overlap with other paper. Do I have another piece of blue? No, I don't have another piece of blue. That's okay. Right, I'm gonna come in with so all these bits of papers. I don't know if you've noticed when I'm oh, I can see this is bubbling. It's not gone down properly. When I'm working with paint and I have left over, I always have a spare bit of paper with me so that I can put the excess paint onto, and I use it in later work. So that's another tip for you. It always comes in handy. I probably won't talk as much in this one because of how I'm feeling. So this is going to might be a bit of a silent treatment. So I'm not ignoring you. It's just that I'm not feeling 100%. I was supposed to do some pastoral visits. I had to make the decision to not go and infect elderly people with my sniffles. So like I said, I'm just trying to cover as much as possible of the page with the different paper. And when you're doing this, it's really better to use small bits. It creates a different dynamic completely than if you just simply put one large sheet of paper. And you do want to cover it, because if you don't, it just, I don't know, it just doesn't look right to me if you just leave it, unless you're doing a collage. So I'm using my fingers to get this done. Unless you're doing a collage, just a straightforward collage, then it doesn't matter. Let me wipe my fingers, my hands, a bit sticky. Oh, I should have said also that I have a kind of circular shape that we will use later, or maybe not. I'll see how we get on. Okay, so I think I want to put something here, and I think I will put this. So we are in Holy Week. Heading towards Good Friday and then Easter. And then I've got next week off work because I was supposed to have been going to a conference that I'm no longer going to. So yeah, so I like this so far. Let's give you a closer look. And then I'm going to come in with these hints of red. And I never plan what I'm doing when I'm doing this. It's always a case of working intuitively. And once this is all done, I will go in with my heat gun and dry it all off before I continue with the paint. So I'm just being instinctive, really, with this. As I said before, just looking to see where there are spaces that I want to put the different bits on. I'm probably using way too much Mod Podge. That's okay because it will dry. I will dry it out completely. Just means it might take a bit longer to dry. And where I see any kind of bubbles, then I'll go in to fix it. Nothing worse than bubbles when you're doing this. I'm gonna put this bit up here, checking that I'm in frame still. And remember to put a page below your work to protect it. I'm gonna put this here. I will be putting paints over this. I will see how it all hangs together before deciding where and how to do the paint. I may even decide not to put any paint. We'll see. Oh, we shall see. So let's have a look and see. Yes, let me just show you what it looks like. So if I was doing a straight collage, I would simply just fill every bit with paper, but of course I'm not doing a straight collage, so I'm going to leave this. I'm going to put just bit up here. Yeah. So really it's just to cast your eye over the page and see where you want to add anything, if any, and work with your instincts. Oops, 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 that's gonna stick. Sorry. Just gonna put this bit of plastic here. Always have a bit of paper or something underneath your work. Cereal bags are great for this, because like paper will stick, but this won't stick. So I think I'm happy with this right now. So I'm going to clean my brush and dry this, and we'll continue. Okay, so I've dried the page. It's much to touch. I'm using a heat gun, which speeds it up a bit, but you could sort of leave it overnight or leave it for a few hours and let it dry completely and then come back. So we're gonna go in with some gesso just to blend everything together, to marry everything together. And I am going to use my fingers for this. So I'm going to take some gesso out. I can put some here. All I want is a room somewhere. So I'm just going in this spaces where there isn't any paper first of all. I think the Mod Podge is making the page react differently than if I was using the matte medium, which is what I normally use. So I'm just using my finger because it just makes it a little bit easier for me to control. And it's also toning down the pages. So almost creating a blank canvas really with the gesso. But you still have the pages underneath, which add interest and texture to your work. Oops, sorry. So you can see that it's pretty toned down. Well, I hope you can see that. I'm going to dry it and come back to continuing. You can use a hair dryer as well to dry. All right, so let's dry. Okay, so it's dry enough for me to continue working. And what I'm actually going to do, put the lid back on my gesso, is I'm going to go over with a second layer of gesso for extra protection. I'm going to use this white brush because I'm just going to literally just drag it along the entire page. So again, I've got the papers underneath giving texture to my work. I'm creating a sort of blank canvas with which to work. And I'm using the kind of dry brush. Ooh, you can see here. Okay. Right, there's a bubble. Okay, so I'm going to dry this. Okay, so now that's completely dried. Dry enough for me to continue to work in, and I'm going to begin to add color. I'm going to use the washing up sponge to do that. Just to in the white spaces, but also I want to create, sorry, I want to create a kind of frame for this. So I'm going to do that with the black gesso. Yeah. I'm using my hands for this because I don't want black gesso all over my hands. So you're almost getting a kind of stenciling effect with the washing up sponge, and you can tilt it in a particular way like I'm doing here. I'm trying to see where to get a different, you don't want it completely covered. Well, I don't want it completely covered, so I'm doing it quite carefully. I really love the effect this is having, and I want a little bit more at the top. I couldn't get into my black gesso for a while now. Oh my goodness. I want a little bit more. I want it a bit darker at the top here, and then we'll do the stenciling effect. I'm gonna experiment with something. It's a mark making. Probably should have done it after, but okay. So I'm gonna head and do the edging while I have the black gesso on here. Oops, I'll get it on my hands. Okay. Put this down, clean my hands. I may use the black gesso again, so I'll leave the sponge. So I'm going to dry this. Okay, so I've dried the black gesso, And this time I'm going to try to incorporate some more color into this, but I want to be really careful. I want it to be really light. I don't want it to be overpowering. So what I'm going to do is put some paint down onto a bit of paper here. I'm only using a small amount of this blue. If it will come out, that will be awesome. Oh, yes, it will. Because I want to mix it. I'm going to put a little bit of green and some white. Put the white down here. I want more white. I need to just clean this because it's the dried paint is stuck. My camera did something weird just now, so I think I'm gonna have to join two videos. It stopped the first video. So I hope it's okay. I hope it didn't do anything to the other video. So I'm using the washing up sponge again. Am I using the washing up sponge? Yes, I am. And I'm gonna wet it a little bit. Just a tiny amount. So it's not dripping at all, yeah? It's not dripping, it's just wet enough. And I'm going to dip some in the green, some in the blue. And create something. Oops. And I'm just going into these areas here. Areas where the white is, where there was no paper. Okay. All right. Get some. And I really want the dabbing effect, so it's not I don't want it smooth. As you can see, I'm using the other side of the brush, of the sponge, sorry, rather than the side I use for the black gesso. Okay. Right. I think I'm okay with that. I'm gonna put some within where the black gesso is. Just add some water on this. Just to kind of marry everything together. And it doesn't matter what color you use. You can use any color you want. And I'm gonna go really lightly with the green and with some white, and let's just do all of this. I don't want it to take over. Let's see. There's a reason. I have a method to my madness. Okay, so I'm just lightly using the rest of the sponge, whatever that's rest of the paint that's on the sponge on the paper. I'm going, like I said, in where the black gesso is. All right, I'm going to quit while I'm ahead. So let me just show you what it looks like so far. All right, so I'm going to dry this and then come back. Okay, so this is all dried, and I'm going to come in with some red paints now. This is where we begin to experiment. So this is where we will need our spray bottle to come into effect. And yeah, I would use I've got some like oxide ink, but people might not have. I'll show you actually what it looks like. So this is ink spray, and I guess it's like alcohol ink, but it's amazing, but it gets everywhere, so you have to be really careful when you use it. It's in a spray bottle, but I tend to use just when I use it, I just open it and put it on the page. I might actually, I'll use it so you can see, but you can do the same thing with the paints, acrylic paints or watercolor paints. We did it the other day when we put the paint on the page, spread it water and let it move. So that's basically what we're doing. But I've bought these and they're not cheap, and I should really use them. So I'm going to, instead of, like I said, because of how it moves, I'm not gonna spray it, because it just literally gets everywhere. Okay, I want a little bit more, so I'm gonna pray for me, brothers and sisters. It gets everywhere, so I'm just gonna put a small dab at the top. So you want to put your red paint at the top, oops, and then come in with your spray. Sorry, let me move this out of the way for now with this plastic, and come in with your spray and let it run down. And I don't want so much of it on the page. I'm gonna let it run down onto this plastic on my table. This is exactly the effect I want. I'll show you in a minute once it's finished dripping. So you know, before when we did this, we moved the page around. With this time, we just want it to come straight down, and I'll show you in a minute. All right. And because this is pink paint, it's not, it's, you know, the red would look better for what I want, but it's okay. So you can see it's literally just come all the way down. And I might still go in with the red, but let me dry this first. Like I said, this stain, so I'm trying to be really careful. It will be on my hand forever for the next few days. And I'm just going to wipe it with the wipe and put it onto this paper. Oops. It does stain. It's great. I love using it, but it gets everywhere. Right, let me dry this completely, and then I'm going to put some red paints on. But I just wanted to show you that. All right, so we're going to go in with the red paints. And for this, I'm going to paint on my hand. I'm going to just put some red paint on this. And spray a little bit of water in the frame. Just a small amount, not too much. You can see, and then I'm just going to dab it along on top of the black. Put a bit more. And then use the spray. When I want this to work, it does not. Oops. And let it run down. Okay, this I don't like this. Put some more. Oops. Oops. So I'm just letting it run down onto my desk, which is not a good idea. I want to move it about, but I don't want it to stay like this. Just have a showing of red. As you can see, it behaves the red paint behaves differently to the oxide. So it's quite lighter. But you still have that effect. And now I've got paint all over my desk, which I will wipe very quickly. And one of the reasons I had this image in my head was really because of thinking about Jesus' blood being shed on the cross and his blood being poured out for us. So that's the idea behind this way of doing this. So I just need to dry it, and there's a couple more things we need to do. So let's try this and then I'll continue. Okay, so excuse me. What I want to do next is I want to create a space for us to write the words "it is finished" in the corner, and in my head I had the semicircle, which is why I had this. It's not quite a semicircle. You can probably do a better semicircle than I can. And then I'm going to put the cross here, but I'm going to stencil the, I'm going to use a sponge, sorry, to add, and I'm going to use white gesso, but you can use white paint. I might just use white paint just so you can see, because I've got some white paint on here. Let me just trim this. So my attempt at making a semicircle was not very great. But you just basically want a place here, and I don't want to cover the black. And I'm going to put this here, and let's see. Let's do this. We'll see how we get on. I use a combination of white gesso and white paint because I've got it there. Oh. Okay, I'm in frame. I'll bring this closer so you can see here what I'm doing. So I'm basically coming in with the sponge. I need to find a way of sticking this down, and I'm going to use a bit of washi tape because I don't want the cross to move. If I can find the end of this washi tape, that would be good. and the end of any bit of washi tape, that would be good. Are you kidding me? Okay. Right. So I'm going to do is just put this behind the cross. Oh, my oxide glue is still wet. That'll be interesting. And then just put it down here, just so it doesn't move too much. All right, let's do this. Oh, too much. See, if I do around the circle first, and I'll move this, and then just do around the cross. I don't know if you can see, but where I use the oxide ink, it's lifting. I don't know why. I don't know if it's a combination of things, but I'm not bothered about that. It's fine. And I'm actually covering the black, even though I said I wasn't going to. Okay. So let's take the cross up and see what we have. So you can see it's faint, but that's okay. Oh, yeah, you can see it's there. There's something happening with the paper. I don't know if it's because it's not dry properly, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. So, I mean, I could just leave this like this and not write it is finished here, but write it here instead. But I'll wait for all of this to dry completely before I do that. And I've got paint everywhere on my hands. So they say less is more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this dry overnight completely properly, and then I'll probably add some white splashes on this bit with the plastic that we did the other day, putting some paint onto the plastic with some water and just making an imprint over this section here. But I'm going to let it dry completely first, because something is happening with the oxide ink is doing its lifting, and I don't want to mess it up. But I like that you can still see the pink coming through there. So this is it for now, and all I'm going to do outside of the video is allow it to dry completely, and then do some white splashes somewhere in it. But I want to see how it looks tomorrow before I do that. So I hope this makes sense to you and that you have enjoyed this process. And again, thank you for coming along with me on this journey of Creative Lent. So, and I'll see you if you're joining me on Zoom on Friday at 7. I will see you then. God bless. Bye-bye.